Okay, breathe in, breathe out. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to come out and say it. This topic that we're going to try to tackle today, which is Emunah in difficult times, makes me very uncomfortable. I find that Emunah is a very hard concept for me to grasp. Faith is not an easy thing for me to connect with always. And then you add pain and sadness and life and all of the things that could potentially knock you off course, and I can't deal with it. I can't deal with what happens to me, to other people, to life in general, when things get knocked off course and you have to try to find your way back into a place of accepting and feeling faith. It's hard. It feels so easy to have faith when things are okay, right? You can connect to a higher source because you feel like things are going your way. And you kind of recognize the patterns of Hashem's presence in your life when things are lining up and plan A works well, and then that turns into positive action. But if you're anything like me, then when the opposite occurs, and things get a little choppy and life doesn't happen the way we want to, which let's admit is always to a more or lesser degree, I totally let go of the Emunah rope. Like if you imagine like Emunah is a rope coming out of a helicopter and you're like in the water. And when the water is nice and fine and chill and you can just like swim around and feel at ease, you kind of like hang on to the rope, but you also feel like you don't need it. Or and then as soon as things get choppy, I don't know why, but my reaction is just to completely let go and like flail out there in the middle of the ocean calling out for help, even though I already had the help. Like it was right there and I just chose to let go of it. I just, I think the way we react to faith in difficult times can feel like a double-edged sword. If you think about the times in your life that have been incredibly difficult, and I can pinpoint, a handful of experiences that I've gone through in my life that have just made me question everything. And so when we're in these moments, we're so raw and we're in so much pain that we're afraid to approach the thing we need, which is a connection to God and Emunah and faith and something grounding us, because we feel that we're scared. We're scared that it'll make the pain worse, and sometimes it will. So that's kind of the disclaimer for this topic. Sometimes hanging on to faith will make the pain worse, but I also think that it's a conduit for healing. So let's just admit right now, right off the bat, that trying to feel faith and trying to feel grounded when you're in pain can sometimes make the pain worse. It's like you're trying to channel this opening and it's painful and it sucks. But I also think that when you're in pain and you allow yourself to be open to this experience of being grounded and feeling a connection to a higher source, it's a conduit for healing. I think part of the issue, just in general in life, is we use these kinds of things like Emunah as a band-aid for our issues. Like instead of using it to deal with the problem at the core, when you're in a dark place and someone tells you to cheer up and have a little faith, then, it's not going to go deep. It's not going to have a long-term effect on you. And if anything, it might make you feel worse because you can't find it in yourself to feel Hashem's presence in your life in that moment. And that's like putting on a band-aid. When people tell you, oh, cheer up, it'll get better. There's they're placing band-aids all over your body. But if you have like this gaping, gashing hole that's bleeding, you need, stitches and you need to be sterilized. And sometimes Emunah feels like getting stitches. It hurts and it's painful, but it also helps you heal. And like, as I'm saying that, it's like, yeah, that really sucks. It's the worst. But that puts you in a place where you can get better. One of the things that I love about Chassidus is that there's this intensely rich and like deep answers that it has for all of the issues that we could potentially deal with in life, such as this one. Like, what do you do? How are you supposed to have faith when life is terrible? But then on the other hand, one of the difficulties of Chassidus that I found in my life is, I always learned that Chassidus was supposed to be attainable and attainable to every person, regardless of their level of spirituality or observance. And while I find that to be true, I also think that there's concepts that can sometimes be difficult to grasp if you don't have the right tools to understand them, or if you don't have the right language to understand them with, um, which is kind of the core of this project, is giving myself and other people the tools and the language to be able to understand these really amazing, core, beautiful teachings of Torah. So in the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe discusses how pain is essentially what makes you a stronger conduit for Emunah. The first time I read this, I was like, no, that's no. I don't agree. I do not accept. I do not accept that pain will make me a stronger, more effective conduit for a better life. And then the more I read, the more I realized how true it was. It's kind of this like surrender that you have to come to. This like stubbornness of, I don't want to believe it's true, but I know it's true. And so in Tanya, what the Alter Rebbe says is that in every sadness, there will be a prophet. And, to me, at least, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive when you first approach it. But the thing that I've learned going deeper into this teaching is that life is a two-way street, right? So you have good days and you have bad days, and you have to experience one in order to have the other. And I don't know about you, but if you ever had a really crappy day, just had like an awful, awful day, it makes you appreciate the better days that you have so much more. And it's the same thing with happiness and sadness. To borrow from Inside Out, the Pixar movie, um, happiness is all great and nice and dandy, but sometimes we need sadness to give us perspective. I'm like laughing at myself that I just went into Disney territory, but that's like my whole life is just one long Disney movie, or one long explanation of a Disney movie. So I guess it works. When you feel pain, when you feel sadness, you create an opening and a channel for bigger, better things. And that doesn't make it easier or comfortable or pleasant. Hashem is basically asking you to make room for bigger things in your life, to have a bigger heart, to have more understanding, to have more compassion and empathy for yourself and for other people. But you have to pass through a certain experience in order to gain that wisdom. And that's a really hard thing to wrap your head around. The thing is I'm not trying to like justify pain. I'm not trying to say like, oh, pain is good because ABC. There've been experiences in my life where I was just like, nope, I give up. I'm done. I don't want to believe. I don't have the energy to believe. There's nothing in this world that will convince me that what is happening to me is good. And at the time, it doesn't feel like it's good. And even once you've recovered from, the pain that you've gone through, that doesn't mean that you have to accept that what happened to you was good. It's more that it led you to gain something better than what you had before. Even if it didn't feel like it at the time. So I think what it comes down to is that Emunah is an emotional response. It's this reaction to pain. It's this, kind of this like kick in of adrenaline and just so many emotions that help us shape our experiences. It's an emotional kick. And if we treat it like that, that we create an opening for it to exist in our lives. If we treat Emunah like it's something scary, like I do, I'm scared of having faith. Because I know, it's like once you recognize the truth, you can't hide from it, or you can't run away from it for too long, right? So for me, the issue that I deal with in my life over and over again, and I've heard this from so many people, is that once you recognize the truth of who you are and what your life is, you can ignore it, but it's just going to keep gnawing at you until you embrace it. And for me, it's that thing has been Emunah, that emotional response, that flood of, oh my gosh, something terrible is happening, and this is my opportunity to hold on to that rope and hold on to that anchor instead of letting go and flailing around and wondering why I'm not getting better. So the bottom line is like, this is the way we grow. It's the give and take of Emunah. This is what we originally defined a few weeks ago in the first discussion. Is that Emunah is trust in Hashem and Hashem's trust in you, and pain is part of the process. I didn't want to admit it, but there you go. But if we treat it as part of the process instead of running away from it, we'll open ourselves up to expand and be bigger and better and be more wholehearted. And And that's life. That is life. So thank you guys all so much for taking the time to listen. Next week, we're going to be discussing the key to understanding happiness, which, like Emunah, is a very difficult topic, but we will wade into the uncomfortability of it together. Yay. All right, everybody. Cheers, l'chaim, rock on. You guys are all great.